भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So today I'll conclude the final discussion on this anuccheda. Tato askalanam. Askalanam means nobody can. Vaikuntha, the nature of vaikuntha is that it does not allow any of its residents to fall from vaikuntha. So continue see the concluding part of this. So Jiva Goswami in the Tattva Sandarbha, he accepted three pramanas: Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Shabda. So we saw many evidences from the Shabda Pramana. The different verses from Shabda Pramana that clearly indicate that the Jivatma does not fall. That is why this Anucheda is called as Tato Askalanam. So Pratyaksha and Anumana Pramana, they cannot shed light on this topic because the subject of Vaikuntha is beyond Pratyaksha and the subject of the Anumana is also the subject of Vaikuntha is beyond Anumana Pramana. So, of course, Pratyaksha has validity only for Pratyaksha has no validity in the assignment of the transcendental subject matter. Therefore, Pratyaksha Pramana cannot throw light on this topic. Anumana, logic on the other hand, can be used for analyzing the Shastra, but logic that conforms to Shastra, only that is acceptable as a valid means of knowing. So, in the definition of a Uttamadhikari given by Rupa Goswami says that Shastre Yuktaucha Nipunau, a person who is expert in logic and argument and the revealed scriptures, such a person is the most eligible to achieve bhakti. Shastre Yuktaucha Nipunau Drida Shraddha, one who is expert in logic, argument, and the revealed scripture, and who has unflinching determination and faith in Krishna, is the person eligible for bhakti. So Jiva Goswami comments that the logic which is referred here, this particular shloka, is logic that conforms to Shastra. And for that he quotes a shloka from Vaishnava Tantra. What is appropriate logic? The appropriate logic is used to reach the proper conclusion on the strength of understanding the prior statement and the later statement. On the other hand, dry logic, which is devoid of, sometimes in dry logic, people, they don't see the context of the statement. They don't see the previous statement and the later statement. They try to take out some particular words in the Shastra and then try to bring out some meaning. Such kind of logic is a dry logic that should be rejected. Hmm. So logic and argument, it's not that they are of no value at all. Logic and argument, they can assist us to understand the conclusions of the Shastra. Hmm. And logic can help us to resolve the apparent contradictions. So logic should be used like a minister, but logic should not be used like a master. So, for example, many places in the Shastra we find contradictory statements. For example, in one place, um, a statement which glorifies the Chaturmasya Vrata. One who observes Chaturmasya Vrata attains imperishable result. But in another place, it is said that the results of fruitive activities, they are not permanent. Hmm. So the results achieved in heaven, they are all permanent. Shine punyam artyalokam vishant. So naturally, both the statements, they cannot be absolute. Hmm. There is a contradiction between the two statements. So, so the observation of Chaturmasya, like through our pratyaksha, we cannot see that the results of Chaturmasya are imperishable. So, so the statement is the observation of Chaturmasya does not directly lead to imperishable merit, but only to the indirect possibility of such a merit. So the statement is neither false nor true in its primary sense. So the statement that Chaturmasya gives imperishable results, it's neither false nor is it true in the primary sense. So we have to apply a secondary meaning to one of the statements in order to reconcile them. So how do we reconcile the contradictory statements? So we have to understand the speaker's intention. And we have to deliberate on the results of sakama karma. And study many statements which talk about sakama karma. So there are many statements in the Shastra which tell that the sakama karma, the result of sakama karma are temporary. Hmm. So, so when we study many statements which say that the result of sakama karma are temporary, then we have to take the statement which says that the result of Chaturmasya Vrata is imperishable. We have to see that this statement is given to inspire the people who have material identification and who are attached to the fruits in order to inspire them to perform the Chaturmasya Vrata, such a glorification is given. Hmm. So when they perform such Chaturmasya Vrata in the course of their life, they may come in contact with a learned sage, a living sage. And from that living sage or a living devotee, one may be graced with the higher knowledge, and then a person may pursue the path of liberation. In the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says that Shreyan Dravyamayat Yagyat Jnana Yagya Parantapa. Sarvam Karma Kilam Partha Jnane Parisamapyata. The sacrifice of knowledge is actually superior to the sacrifice of the material possessions. And all the actions, uh, they attain completion in transcendental knowledge. So because people in general, they are generally attached to the fruits of the action. So if the scriptures altogether reject all the fruitive activities and And if the scriptures only talk about pure devotional service, uh, then though there are many people who are religiously inclined, but still who are not ready for pure devotion, they will completely lose faith in the fruitive activities, karma yoga. Therefore, even Krishna says that na buddhi bedam na buddhi bedam janayat agyanam karma sanginam joshayat sarva karmani vidwan yukta samachar. Krishna talks about how one should not unsettle the minds of spiritual of the ignorant people who are attached to fruitive action. Rather, a person of wisdom, while attentively engaged in action, he should engage the materially attached people in all the matter of action. Mhm. So therefore, we see that teaching is an art. Mhm. An expert teacher is somebody who elucidates in such a way that the student on his own embraces the teaching without a confusion. So most of the conditioned living beings, they don't want to get out of the material world. They just want to make this world a comfortable place. So a compassionate teacher wants to help them. He wants to help them get rid of the material identification, but they are not ready for it. So therefore, there's a clash of interest. So therefore, a compassionate teacher adopts a strategy, just like the parents adopt a strategy of giving a bitter medicine with a sugar coating. Similarly, a compassionate teacher adopt this kind of strategy. In the Purva Mimamsa, this kind of strategy is called as Parisankhya Vidhi. The scriptures apparently encourage fruitive activities, but the intention of the scripture is not that. Huh. So in the 11th canto, in the teachings of Nava Yogendras to the Nimi Maharaj, there is a shloka which says that karma karma vikarmeti vedavado na laukikaha vedasya cheshwaratmatvat tatra mukhyanti surayah parokshvado vedoyam balana manushasanam karma mokshaya karmani vidatte hyagadam yatha. So in this shloka, uh, so going back, it is said that karma, vikarma, akarma, all are known from the Vedas. So Vedas are a direct revelation of Krishna. Even the Devas are confused about these three types of actions: karma, prescriptions; vikarma, prohibitions. So vikarma means transgressions. Karma, vikarma, akarma, prohibitions and transgressions. So Vedas many times speak indirectly. Hmm. So although the Vedas uh, they may prescribe fruitive activities to the ignorant people, but the real import of the Vedas is to make people transcend the fruitive activities. Just like a child is many times tempted with the sweets, but the real intent of the parents is to make the child eat the medicine. So therefore, when we talk about the Shastra, when we merely cite references from the Shastra, it will not merely citing the references. So many times it may not establish the truth conclusively. So one has to analyze the scriptures thoroughly. One has to see the intention of the scriptures. One has to see the context of the particular statement. Hmm. So one has to reconcile the contradictions. So therefore, one must appropriately resolve all the apparent contradictions by properly understanding the relative strength of the various scriptural statements. So there is a taratamya among the different scriptural statements also. It's like there is a Munsif court, district court, high court, and supreme court. There's a taratamya among the scriptural statements also. The Puranas and Sattva Guna, they have a greater authority than the Puranas and Rajoguna, which have a greater authority than the Puranas and Tamoguna. The scriptures, Vedanta Sutra, which talk about Vedanta Sutra, Upanishads, Srimad Bhagavatam, they have a greater authority than the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, which glorify the fruitive activities. For example, in the Bhagavatam itself, we have the statement Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. This is a Paribhasha Sutra of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The emperor's statement are called as a Mahavakya. So within the Bhagavatam, even if there are other statements which may apparently mean that Krishna is an Amsha of Vishnu. Krishna is an incarnation of Vishnu. But this Paribhasha Sutra overrules all the other statements. So, and this Paribhasha Sutra is not that we are whimsically accepting the statement as the Paribhasha Sutra. But this Krishna's Bhagavan Swayam is established as a Paribhasha Sutra according to the standard accepted rules of logic. We will see in the Krishna Sandarbha that what is the basis in which Krishna's Bhagavan Swayam is accepted as a Paribhasha Sutra. Even in the Vedanta Sutra, there are 4 chapters are there. Each chapter has got 4 padas. The first chapter is called as Samanvaya Adhyaya. That means a chapter on reconciliation. Samanvaya means reconciliation. So, because what is the purpose of the Samanvaya Adhyaya? To reconcile the apparent contradictions in the Upanishads. So, therefore, the tradition of using tarka or appropriate logic is a well-established fact, and Jiva Goswami has rightly accepted it as a means for establishing the Shastric conclusion. So the simple example we often cited, when there is a contradiction between 2 Shastric statements, it is like 2 cows fighting. Then you have to reconcile the contradiction. That means you have to stop the fight between the 2 cows and protect both the cows, not that protect one cow at the cost of killing the another cow. Not like that. So we have to protect both the cows. You have to stop the fight. For that, we use the help of the logic. So one approach to analyze a philosophical conclusion is by observing the conformity between Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. What is the how do the Guru, Sadhu, and Shastras, how do they what is the common conclusion of all 3? So of the 3, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, Shastra stands supreme. I will read a quote from Prabhupada's purport. This is a statement in Chaitanya Charitamrita. According to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, Prabhu kahe anyavatara shastra dware jani, khalite avatara taiche shastra vakyamani. Mahaprabhu said that As in other ages, an incarnation is accepted according to the Shastra. In the age of Kali also, an incarnation is accepted according to the Shastra. So Prabhupada says that, yeah, he quotes Narottam Das Thakur. Sadhu Shastra Guru Vakya Chitte Te Koriya Akya. One should accept a thing as genuine by studying the statements of the saintly people, the spiritual master, and the Shastra. And then he says, the actual center is the Shastra. If the spiritual master does not speak according to Shastra, he is not to be accepted. Similarly, if a sadhu does not speak according to Shastra, he is not a sadhu. The Shastra is the center for all the three. Unfortunately, at the present moment, people do not refer to the Shastra. Therefore, they accept some rascals as incarnations. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna very emphatically says, Yaha Shastra Vidim Utsrajya Vartate Kamakarataha Naha Siddhim Vapnoti Nasukam Na Param Gatim Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te Karya Karya Vyavastitau Nyatva Shastra Vidanuktam Karma Kartum Ihargasi. 16th chapter, last two shlokas. Shastra is the pramana. Krishna is very clearly saying. One who gives up the Shastra, he neither attains happiness in this life nor in the next life. The Shastra is the center for all. So therefore intelligent people who follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions and the instructions of the Acharya will not accept a pretender as an incarnation. This is a very emphatic purport. And there are so many quotations of Prabhupada. See, let us so many quotations where he says, well, I'll read some quotations. That somebody has said like this. Some Mahatma says like this. That is not very valued argument. Valued argument is that when you quote from the Vedic literature, that is valuable. Veda Pramana, Shruti Pramana. Shruti Pramana is accepted amongst the authorities. Lecture 22nd February 1971. Another lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the gift of Mahaprabhu. It is in the Shastra. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not give you anything which is not in the Shastra. He is the Acharya. He can make Shastra. But whatever he does, whatever he speaks, that is Shastra. But because he is playing the role of an Acharya, he immediately gives Vedic evidences. Another evening darshan, Prabhupada says, without the purport of Shmruti, Smriti, Purana, any religious movement is simply a disturbance. Utpata yaiva kalpate. Prabhupada quotes how Krishna is quoting that Brahma Sutra Padaischaiva Hetu Madbir Vinishchitaihi. Rishibir Bahuda Geetam Chandobir Vividai Prutak Brahma Sutra Padaischaiva Hetu Madbir Vinishchitaihi. So there are so many quotations where Prabhupada emphasizes about the Shastra. Coming back here. So the degree of completion. So the degree of completion and the resonance of the truth or the falsity of any teaching, even those of the various avatars, can be assessed based on a thorough and cross-contextual visioning of all the Shastra. Even the statements of the avatars, they can be assessed only based on the Shastra. So, for example, the teachings of Lord Buddha. Buddha is accepted as an avatar. But the teachings of Buddha are identified as pertaining to atheism, even though he is an avatar. That like basically God is teaching that there is no God. So we don't accept the teachings of Buddha because they are not in accordance with the Shastra. At the same time, we must not forget that Shastra is understood only through the medium of Guru and Sadhu. Dharma Stapana Hetu Sadhura Vyavahara. Mahaprabhu says that the standard of Dharma is established by studying the behavior of the Sadhu. Tasmad, what the shloka, 11th canto. One must approach a guru to study the Shastra. Guru shikshet. One must learn from the guru, person guru, the Shastra. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam. So therefore, so the Shastra is the real center. At the same time, Shastra should be understood only through Guru and Sadhu. So now this process is a little complex. So without receiving instruction in an authorized parampara, one can easily get lost in the jungle of the Shastra. Shastras are like a jungle. Without a person who knows the proper path into the jungle, if we try to enter the jungle on our own, we can get lost in the jungle. Can get lost in the jungle. So therefore, we need a person who knows the in and out of the jungle. We need a guru and sadhu. So therefore, we have seen various shastric conclusions regarding regarding the topic under the discussion about the jiva falling from the spiritual world. That the shastric conclusion is that jiva cannot fall from the spiritual world. And the various Vaishnava sampradayas, they have also accepted without any, they have accepted as it is, the concept of the anadi avidya, and after mukti, one cannot fall from mukti. If you go to whether the Advaita Sampradaya or the Sri Sampradaya, Madhva Sampradaya, any the commentary, the last verse of the Vedanta Sutra is called as Anavritti Shabdat, Anavritti Shabdat. All the commentaries agree that after having attained mukti, one does not return. And within the Gaudiya Sampradaya also, Srila Jiva Goswami, Vishnu Chakravartipad, and Srila Baladev Vidya Bhushan, they also confirm this view. So the sadhus are also in agreement. The sadhus are also in agreement. So on the other hand, we can find no scriptural statements and no commentary by a previous acharya that describe a fall from the spiritual world. So generally, any sampradaya is based on Shruti Pramana, Smriti Pramana, and the Nyaya Prasthana, Prasthana Trayi, Shruti, Smriti, and Nyaya. Shruti is like Upanishads, Smriti, Bhagavad Gita, Nyaya Prasthana is the Vedanta Sutra. So the Prasthana Trayis, Bhagavad Gita does not support. Upanishad Vakya also we have seen that. And Vedanta Sutra also we have seen that. Anavriti Shabdat, Anavriti Shabdat. So all the three Prasthana they don't support. So any Sampradaya is based on these three conclusions by the statements from the Prasthana Trayi. So sometimes it may be it is suggested that Jivatma it is some people say that Jivatma falls in the spiritual world because of being envious of Krishna. But we already discussed this point that the Mahamaya potency is not present in Vaikuntha. So from where can the envy arise? That when in the Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter, when Krishna speaks about Mahabhutan Yahankaro Buddhir Avyaktam Evacha Indriyani Dashekemcha Panchachendriya Gochara Icha Dvesha Sukam Dukkam Sangata Chetana Dhriti. Icha Dvesha Sukam Dukkam Sangata Chetana Dhriti. When he speaks about Icha Dvesha, He is speaking about Ichcha Dvesha only in relation to the material world, material body. So envy is connected with the material body. So envy is not present in the spiritual body. Some people give another argument. So the envy, there is no envy in the spiritual body, but the envy arises for the living entity in the spiritual body when they see Krishna enjoying with the gopis. When they see Krishna enjoying with the gopis. But actually, it is explained that the devotees derive far greater pleasure from serving other devotees who are in direct association with Krishna than directly performing service to Krishna. That is why Mahaprabhu prayed to become the Gopi Bharatur Padakamalayur Dasa Dasanu Dasa. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu considers the following in the footsteps of the residents of Vrindavan to be the highest mood of service. Raga Anuga Bhakti. And Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that the gopis derive 10,000 times more pleasure by seeing Krishna than he does by seeing them. 10,000 pleasure, it's more pleasure by seeing Krishna than he does by seeing them. So, how could any devotee feel dissatisfied at being a servant? This would mean the conclusion that being the servant of a servant is defective. So therefore, if you say that envy arises when a devotee sees Krishna enjoying with the gopis, that means this indicates a defect in Krishna. That this indicates a defect that Krishna is unable to satisfy his servants. And moreover, not everybody serves Krishna directly. So it would mean that there is a lot of envious devotees in Vaikuntha. Those people who are not serving Krishna directly, that means they are they are all envious. There are many envious devotees in Vaikuntha. Like that, one may come to a conclusion. So, but actually, Bhagavatam says that Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam sata. That the pure bhakti is free from all cheating. And it is meant only for paramo nirmatsaranam. It is meant only for the non-envious devotees. And in fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Ananyas chintayanto mam yejana paryupasate tesham nitya abhyuktanam yogakshamam ahamyaham. To my unallied devotees, I preserve what they have and I carry what they lack. So, suppose if a devotee is feeling some lack of happiness or something, Krishna will carry them. So when a devotee is by nature free from envy, when a devotee is free from all kinds of egocentrism, and the Lord has unlimited capacity for providing care, providing happiness to the devotee, how can anybody in Vaikuntha feel dissatisfied? How can anybody in Vaikuntha become envious? And how can they become envious and leave Vaikuntha? And moreover, if some people say that the living entities fall from Krishna Loka and not from Vaikuntha planets. Like that, there are some people who say that people fall from Krishna Loka and not from other Vaikuntha planets. Suppose if this were the case, then Krishna Loka would be inferior to Vaikuntha. But this contradicts the Brahma Samhita statements, which describe that Krishna Loka as the highest realm. Goloka namni nijadamni talesha tasya Devi Mahesha Haridama Suteshu Teshu Tete Prabhava Nichaya Vihitasayena Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajam. So Brahma Samhita clearly says that Krishna Loka is superior to the other Vaikuntha planets. So if people say that people fall from Krishna Loka, not from Vaikuntha, that contradicts the Brahma Samhita statements. Secondly, if everybody falls only from Krishna Loka, then why is it that later that some become devotees of other avatars after falling from Krishna Loka, then they become devotees of other avatars like Ram, Narsimha, and then they end up in Vaikuntha. This would mean that they are not going back to their original Swarupa in Krishna Loka, but they are going to a new home in some other Vaikuntha. So how could they change their natural disposition for Krishna to some other avatar? So therefore, and suppose if somebody says that it's also possible to fall from other Vaikuntha planets apart from Krishna Loka, then how would you reconcile the statement of Yudhishthira Maharaj in the Bhagavatam 7th canto? Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking a question to Narada that Kidrisha Kasyava Shapo Haridoshabi Marshanaha Ashraddheya Ivabati Harer Ekantinam Bhavah Dehendriyasu Hinanam Vaikuntha Puravasinam Deha Sambandha Sambaddham Yetad Akhyatum Arhasi. Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking a question. What kind of horrible curse could affect even the liberated Vishnu Bhaktas? What sort of a person could curse even the Lord's associates? For unflinching devotees of the Lord, to take birth in this material world is impossible. What is the word? Kidrisha Kasyava Shapo Harir Dasabi Marshanaha Ashraddheya Ivabati Harer Ekantinam Bhavah Dehendriyasu Hinanam Vaikuntha Puravasinam Deha Sambandha Sambaddham Etad Akyatum Arhasi. To take birth in this world is impossible. I cannot believe the story of Jaya and Vijay being cursed. The bodies of the inhabitants of Vaikuntha are completely spiritual, having nothing to do with the material body, having nothing to do with the material senses or the material life here. Therefore, kindly explain how the associates of the Supreme Person were cursed to descend to the material bodies, like the ordinary people. So, therefore, this verse also says that even from Vaikuntha Loka, not only from Krishna Loka, even from Vaikuntha Loka, nobody can fall. So, therefore, we have to understand the concept of Nitya Baddha. So, the concept of Nitya Baddha, perpetually bound, it is little difficult to understand. Generally, when we understand a particular concept, we try to understand the concept in reference to our material experience concerning the objects and actions of this world, which have a beginning and end. Which have a beginning and end. But if the word Nitya Baddha, Nitya means eternal, Baddha means bound. If the word Nitya Baddha is applied strictly, it would mean that the bondage of the Jiva is without beginning and without end. Because Nitya literally means neither beginning nor end. But then all the Sampradayas, they accept that Jivatma can be liberated from bondage. That is the purpose of the Shastra. The Jivatma cannot be liberated from bondage, but then what is the need of the Shastra? So all the Sampradayas accept that Jivatma can be liberated from bondage. So therefore, the bondage of the Jivatma is not without end. It has a end. So therefore, the Nitya does not apply to the future in the sense of an endless bondage. So rather it implies indefinite continuance in bondage till the point the Jivatma gets awakened to his till a person, Jivatma awakens his Swarupa. So therefore, suppose if I say if an Atma were to fall down from Vaikuntha, then the bondage begins at a particular point. So then in that case, the term Nitya would have no bearing at all in reference to the past also. That means it has a beginning and the bondage is without end. Bondage is not without end. That we have already seen, because all the Shastras, they talk about the bondage of the living entity from the material world. So therefore, the Nitya does not refer to the endless bondage. And suppose if we say that the living entity has fallen from Vaikuntha, then the Nitya would have no bearing in respect to the past also. So therefore, from the perspective of both the future and the past, the term would lose all the significance. Then why do the Shastras use the word Nitya Baddha? Then why use the word Nitya Baddha at all, when it has no bearing with respect to the past as well as to the future? And why do the Shastras use the word Anadi? Anadi avidya yuktasya purushasya atma vedanam swatona sambhavadanya tattvagyo jnanado bhave. So why not simply say the word that we are Baddha instead of saying Nitya Baddha? Why not simply say that we have avidya instead of saying Anadi avidya? Then some people interpret the word Anadi avidya in a non-technical sense. Anadi means without adi, without a beginning. Some people say that Anadi means it is a time immemorial. That means it is beyond our memory. We have fallen a very long time before, but we have forgotten when we have fallen. It is beyond our memory. Time immemorial. But this kind of explanation is also misleading because it implies the origin of our conditioned state. Only it says that it cannot be traced, but there is an origin of the conditioned state. Just because it occurred long ago, we have forgotten it. But that is not the case. Rather, we cannot trace the beginning because it is actually without a beginning. So how can you trace out something that does not even exist? Because material bondage in truth, nothing other than beginningless bondage, beginningless non-existence of our real Swarupa. And moreover, if a person falls from Vaikuntha, then how can it be considered superior to the other heavenly planets? About heavenly planet, it says Shine Punya Martya Lokam Vashanti. So one may answer that, okay, no, still Vaikuntha is superior to heaven because from the heaven, everyone falls from heaven. But in Vaikuntha, only those people who have never been to material world, they are subject to falling from Vaikuntha. So in that sense, it is superior to heaven, like that one may say. But then where is the Shastric evidence for such a proposal? So Vaikuntha literally means what? A place free from anxiety. So that means threefold miseries do not exist there. And there is no birth, old age, disease, and death. Suppose if the threat of falling from Vaikuntha existed in Vaikuntha, the residents would be in anxiety that we may fall down from Vaikuntha. And the more joy a resident experiences in Vaikuntha, the more anxiety a person would feel at the prospect of losing Vaikuntha, at the prospect of falling from Vaikuntha. And because the bliss experience in Vaikuntha is superior even to Brahmananda, that means the anxiety of losing that Vaikuntha happiness would also be immense. But then who would accept that? Then who would accept then a fact that Vaikuntha is a place free from anxiety? So therefore, what to speak of falling down from Vaikuntha, one cannot even slip. That is why Jiva Goswami says that askalanam. Skalanam means slipping, like slump when you are walking, stumbling from the on the ground. Askalanam. Uh, what to speak of not falling from Vaikuntha, one cannot even slip from Vaikuntha. Askalanam. So therefore, so then how do we understand Prabhupada has given both the statements that one cannot, I already quoted those statements, one cannot fall from Vaikuntha. Prabhupada emphatically mentions and very clearly mentions in three purports in the third canto, 16th chapter. But there are some places where Prabhupada has mentioned that when a person misuses the free will, one falls from Vaikuntha. So it is the responsibility of a follower of a acharya to defend the acharya. In the Sanatan Dharma, any sampradaya, if you see, every sampradaya's followers, they defend the acharyas. So it is our responsibility to defend the Prabhupada. So then how do we defend Prabhupada's statement where he says that one can fall from Vaikuntha? So one way is that see, the people from the Western background, well, Western background means not only for people from the West, from any material education background, we are always used to the idea of cause and effect, cause effect. We are so much conditioned to the idea of cause and effect. So because of that, it becomes difficult for us to grasp the concept of anadi avidya. What is the cause of getting bound? We always think, uh, what is the cause of getting that avidya? What is the cause of that original karma? There must be some original reason. So we are so much conditioned to think in terms of cause and effect. Therefore, sometimes the acharyas, they gave a cause where a cause does not exist because we are so conditioned to that idea. Acharyas gave a cause where the cause does not exist. So, and then acharyas created a urge in us to go back to God. You have come from the spiritual world, so now you go back to God. They created urgency in that. So therefore, that I'll read one particular this thing. Hmm. So if the condition occurred at a certain point of time, it must be an effect of a cause. This is this is because the time factor generates cause and effect. So the question is that what is the cause of the jiva's conditioning and what event caused it? If the cause of the jiva's conditioning is Bhagavan, then the Vedanta Sutra which states that the Bhagavan is free from bias, that statement will be flouted. Or if the cause of the jiva's conditioning is the jiva itself, then too the accusation will come upon the Bhagavan and his internal Shakti who could not save the jiva from the inferior Maya potency. So Bhagavan could have saved the jiva from getting conditioned by his infinite mercy, but he did not do so. And instead he cruelly let the jiva go away. Then again the same Vedanta Sutra which says that Bhagavan is free of cruelty will be flouted. So therefore, Shastra clearly says that the jiva's conditioning is anadi. So when the term anadi is used, we go out of the domain of cause and effect. That means neither Bhagavan nor the Jivatma is responsible for that conditioning. We go out of the domain of cause and effect. So who is then responsible for that conditioning? So the answer to this question is in the domain of achintya. inconceivable domain. Because whatever is anadi, that is beginningless ignorance, that is also achintya for the conditioned soul. So one cannot look into the window of anadi and find out some original cause of the conditioning. So that is where the philosophical exegesis on this particular issue ends there. When you say anadi avidya, you cannot still try to look out, oh, what is the original cause of the condition? Because the answer to this question is the domain of achintya. Whatever is anadi is also achintya. So because this idea is difficult to grasp for the conditioned intelligence, which is always used to cause and effect, cause and effect. So the Vaishnava Acharyas, like Srila Prabhupada, they give a cause for the jiva's conditioning. That you misuse your free will and you fell from the vaikuntha. So because the people were they were not able to grasp the concept of anadi. So in this way, we have actually concluded this topic of nobody falls from vaikuntha. And next class, of course, this was a long 5 sessions we took. Next class announcements will be faster. 64th anuccheda announcements will start. Anybody has any questions?
Prabhuji, can I ask from Bhagavad Gita?
Huh.
So, Prabhuji, this 12.8, when Krishna says, just fix your mind upon me, so that is, or engage your intelligence, so that's total absorption. And 12.9 will be that you perform this chanting and deity worship or some sadhana bhakti. So isn't that 12.9 also absorption? I mean,
Yeah, there are
isn't that?
different levels. First, highest level is that fixing your mind on me, Krishna says.
Huh.
Huh. There's a particular
But
term
that
also.
is not possible, right? I mean, in the sense for us, it is not possible
That
because
is
we can't
that is
be
the stage of
totally
bhava
absorbed.
bhakti. That is the stage of bhava bhakti. First he says, fix your mind on me. And then he says, if you cannot fix your mind on me, fix your intelligence on me. That is a little lower level. And then he says, if you cannot fix your intelligence on me, then engage your working senses in the service of me, or abhyasa rupa bhakti, or practice fixing the mind upon me, or practice fixing your intelligence upon me, or engage your senses in my service. And then he says that if you cannot do that, the way Prabhupada explains is that then work for me. The third option Prabhupada says is that if you cannot fix your mind on me, fix your intelligence on me. If you cannot do that, perform sadhana bhakti. Every day try to chant certain number of rounds, etc. And if you cannot do that, then work for me. That means like some people may not be chanting rounds, but they will do seva. They will do different sevas to the temple. They may do donation to the temple. They may do different this thing. And they are doing some. They may give some land for donation. They are giving for Krishna. So Krishna is recommending that. And if you cannot do that, then Prabhupada says that then sacrifice for some good cause, at least some cause for others, some philanthropy cause, like that. And in that way, that is how the different yoga ladder is mentioned.
So that 12.12 is karma kanda or what?
Now,
12. What is 12.12?
12.12 is a summary of the previous four shlokas. 12.8 to 11,
Ah.
the summary of that is given in 12.12. So it's little, we have to very little closely understand. The same hierarchy is given in 12.12. 12.8 to 11, the different stages are given. That hierarchy is summarized in 12.12. Because the two acharyas, they give slightly different purport. Baldev Vidyabhushan gives a different purport. Vishnu Chakravarti gives a slightly different purport. But in essence, it is like a hierarchy. So what is this hierarchy? First is fix your mind on me. Next is fix your intelligence on me. And lower than that is the perform sadhana bhakti. Lower than that is the perform engage your working senses in me. Lower than that is sacrifice for some good cause. Nishkama karma yoga. So this hierarchy is given in 12.12. So
Thank you, Professor.
sometimes I can share. There is a recording of the class. I'll send you where we will discuss this in more detail. Mhm.
So, but it is not 12.12 is not karma kand, right? Because I
No, it's
heard
not karma
somewhere.
kanda. It's not karma
Acha.
kanda. It's the, it's a conclusive summary of this previous four shlokas. So there is requires little more deeper understanding that I can send you because separate class I discussed it. If I have the recording, I'll send.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Hmm. Anybody has any questions on this topic? Uh, okay. So then we'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Huh.
Prabhuji, when Sarva Balai Prabhu wanted to join, I sent the number
Hmm.
to add
He
him
was
in the
already
group.
included in the group. I sent him
Okay, okay.
I sent him the group invitation. Whether he joined or not, I don't know.
Okay, Prabhu. Yeah, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We'll stop here. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam. Just
Jai.
one thing I will send. Today was just 2 minutes. Vaikuntha Ekadashi, because it's a Sri Sampradaya, it is a very elaborately, like Ashadi Ekadashi in Maharashtra. Vaikuntha Ekadashi is celebrated widely in Sri Sampradaya. Yesterday was a Mohini Alankara, that means the Namperumal Ranganatha's Utsava Vigraha is dressed like a Mahalakshmi. There was a devotee called as Parashara Bhatta. Parashara Bhatta was appointed as a successor by Ramanujacharya, the next Acharya. Parashara Bhatta, he would spend more time taking darshan of Mahalakshmi, and he would just stand only for a short time with Ranganath. So Ranganath asked, why are you all the time spending more time taking darshan of Mahalakshmi? Uh, so then, ma- in order to attract Parashara Bhatta, Ranganath decided to dress on that day like a Mahalakshmi. So Ranganath one day he dressed like Mahalakshmi, Mahalakshmi, all the decorations. So then on that day, Parashara Bhatta was taking darshan of Ranganath. And then Ranganath asked, so now you are satisfied? Now you will not go to Mahalakshmi? Now I think I must be looking exactly like Mahalakshmi. Then Parashara Bhatta said that all of your decorations are exactly like Mahalakshmi, but there is one difference. In one of your eye, there is, I can see so much of compassion like Mahalakshmi, but in another eye, I am seeing the little punishing attitude which you have towards the demons, Sishupal, another thing. So I see this one difference. But in Mahalakshmi, both the eyes are filled with compassion. But in one of your eyes, I don't see the compassion. All the other things, all the other decorations are exactly like Mahalakshmi. So we can see that the Lord dressed himself like a Mahalakshmi in order to attract Parashar Bhatta. But Parashar Bhatta said that still there's one difference. So this the one day before Vaikuntha Ekadashi, that was yesterday. It's a 21-day festival actually. 10 days before Vaikuntha Ekadashi and 10 days after that. So yesterday was Mohini Alankara, where Lord was dressed like a Mahalakshmi. And today is Vaikuntha Ekadashi. It's basically enacting of a pastime. The Lord plays the role of a living entity. How the living entity when he's getting liberated from the material world and he goes to Vaikuntha, he goes through. So the Ranganath altar represents the material world, and then there is a 1,000-pillar mandapa. It is called as Mani Mandapa there's a particular Mani Mandapa in the Vaikuntha. That 1,000-pillar mandapa is called as the Mani Mandapa of the Vaikuntha. So the Lord is going from the Ranganath altar. The Lord is playing the role of a living entity, and he comes to a particular place called as Viraja Nadi. And in Viraja Nadi, the living entity takes bath, and then he gives up the material body, and then he gets a spiritual body, and then he enters the door of Vaikuntha. So on the day of Vaikuntha Ekadashi, there is a Lord comes from the Ranganath altar, and he comes to a particular place which represents the Viraja Nadi. And Viraja Nadi, just like a living entity takes bath and leaves the material body, there is a particular cloth of the Ranganath will be discarded there. And then from there, the Lord will enter what is called as a Vaikuntha Dwara. That Vaikuntha Dwara opens on this day of Vaikuntha Ekadashi, and it will be open for the next 10 days, like that. And then through the Vaikuntha Dwara, he comes to this Mani Mandapa, which is a mandapa in the Vaikuntha. So there is a 10-day festival which happens, very beautiful, elaborate festival here. Hare Krishna. We just now had darshan and came.
So, Prabhuji, you've clicked pictures and all? Have you? You're allowed to do that?
I didn't click, but the other channels are there. I will send you that.
Okay, thank you. So then people take, so there is, the river is and people take a dip over there, something like that?
No, there is no actual river. There's a place which represents a river, like that. It's a place. The pastime is an actor, like that.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, we'll stop here. Rantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila
Jai.
Jiva Goswami Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Right.